And Nisinta, can you see my screen? And whenever,
Hi, Kiran. Yes, I'm able to see your screen.
cool. So whenever you're ready, like we can probably get started.
I'm sorry, Kiran.
Uh, just let me know when to start.
Yeah, I think we can. We are good to go right now.
All right. Let me just get that out of way. Uh, Hey everyone, thanks for joining on a Saturday morning. Exciting to be taking part in the Hacktoberfest again. This is our uh, fourth year participating in the Hacktoberfest events, and this time we have actually two projects from MayaData that are participating in the event. I'll be focusing on OpenEBS, where my friends will be talking a little bit later about the Litmus. Uh, so I'll try to give a brief introduction of what OpenEBS is and how to contribute to OpenEBS. Uh, I guess after this couple of introductory talks, if you have made up your mind to which project you want to contribute, we can help you get started as well. Uh, with that, a little bit about myself. I'm the co-founder and chief architect at MayaData. I primarily focus on the open source side of the projects within MayaData. I'm an open source evangelist. I'm currently associated with the projects that MayaData generates, as well as Kubernetes and sort of foundation projects. I started my journey in open source in 2013, and ever since I've continued to do more and more in open source. At the moment, I'm focusing and I'm maintaining the OpenEBS project along with one project in Kubernetes 6, which is the NFS Ganesha. And I also help out when time permits on the Litmus. Um, in fact, like most of the experiments that I do, the things that I learn, I also do it in the open source. That's the Bootstrap project that's pinned on my profile. About my data, we started somewhere in late 2016 with this idea that Kubernetes and containers were picking up, though we were doing FreeBSD jails-based containers. Prior to that, we shifted to Kubernetes, and our main vision was to make it easier to run stateful workloads in Kubernetes. In fact, like make it easy and uh, make the users confident to run stateful workloads. With that in mind, the OpenEBS project was to provide the storage, and Litmus was invented to provide confidence for the users to run those workloads. And in fact, though Litmus started off as a chaos engineering for OpenEBS, it soon evolved into chaos engineering for any kind of application or even Kubernetes itself. So it kind of became its own project. OpenEBS, the early code, if you will, you'll see the initial commits coming in 2016. Interestingly, around this post-June, October timeframe. Uh, it became a CNCF project in 2019. It's currently in the sandbox stage, but there are discussions going on to make it as an incubation project. There's several companies and users that are using OpenEBS and contributing to OpenEBS at the moment. This graph is something that I enjoy sharing. It shows a few things. For example, this is an open source contributions graph that's maintained by CNCF. It's called CNCF Developer Stats or Dev Stats. And this particular graph is for the contributions that have come into OpenEBS over the past few years. What it shows is that October has been the month where the maximum number of PRs come in that year, and that's totally attributed to Hacktoberfest. And if you look at we started participating in 2017, and there was like a skyrocketing number of PRs that came in. The same thing happened in 2018, where we kind of found that a lot of things can be started by the maintainers or like the committers that are regularly working on the project. But finally, when Hacktoberfest comes, it's almost like opening it up for a large audience that comes in and gives a lot of feedback. It could be in the terms of issues, or it could be in terms of updating the documentation, or even code contributions. And typically, once the audience comes in and starts contributing the projects, some of them really like the project and they kind of associate themselves. Now, that's where you kind of see the number of contributions over the other months increasing as we grow in the, or like, as we move along in the project's timeline, by those new Hacktoberfest contributors becoming regular contributors. It also helps to provide a challenge, or like, every Hacktoberfest we kind of raise the bar on how many more PRs we need to get to kind of break the record. I hope this time it's really high, and hope we'll break it as well. Uh, Probably I can pause here for a bit to see if folks have any questions before getting into the history of what OpenEBS is and how it started. Just look at the questions panel for a minute. Or Nisanta or Prithvi, would you like to read out the questions if there are any that we should take at this moment? Or is everything being already answered in the chat?
Uh, Kiran, one suggestion is to this make the screen in presentation mode.
Sure. Okay. Is it visible?
Apart from that, yes.
Okay.
Apart from that, I don't see any questions right now.
Cool. So one other thing or a suggestion for the folks that have joined in is probably to introduce yourself over the chat. Where are you from which country or state you're coming from, and then what's your interest in Hacktoberfest? Would you like to code in Go, Java, JavaScript, Python, or the other thing that you could do is also um, what's the background that you come from? Are you studying? Are you a student, or are you already working? Anything that you would like to share with the community that will help the other project maintainers that are available here to suggest what kind of contributions you can make. All right, let that come in, and then we can probably read out some of those introductions in the call for those who are present on the YouTube as well. Uh, cool. Uh, so the origins of the OpenEBS was really around like this cultural shift that was happening in the software development. It was not just about the technology, but it was also about like the way the teams were getting organized. If you look at this diagram, which I actually took from ThoughtWorks, who do a fantastic job of producing thought leadership on microservices architectural patterns. So this one shows that the teams typically involved a software, waterfall kind of a development model with specialized teams doing the UI, middleware, and databases, and then the things that are not shown in the diagram, or like infrastructure engineers and all that. And typically there used to be a handoff of what needs to be done by the product management or project management, and then that goes down into architects that have to define the interfaces by working with some of these specialists, and then there used to be more like a handoff from one team to the other. This resulted in a lot of uh, slow development processes. Sometimes the releases would take like a year, or even longer. And this kind of also showed up in the way the software was built. The DBAs would be comfortable with one type of database. Similarly, like the middlewares would all try to do all the services in a set of given languages. Whether those languages are really well suited for the service or not, they would have to learn that language, sometimes even proprietary, and work on that. And similarly, like a monolithic UI that has to support all the functionality. This started changing. I think the microservices was gaining a lot of popularity in the later half of 2000, of post 2010. And then teams were getting split into more of a functional team rather than a specialist teams, full stack engineers, uh, where that was kind of becoming a thing. So a smaller team that's trying to focus on a particular service was more productive, and it was actually enabling the companies to innovate faster. Sometimes innovation is not always about success, it's about knowing what is failing much faster than waiting to learn about that mistakes 1 or 2 years down the line, right? So automation throughout CI/CD DevOps practices were were picking up traction, as well as the culture of like how the teams are organized, structured was changing. So the initial change came in at the microservices or the middleware layer, but soon that change was taken down into the data or like the storage layer as well. For example, instead of depending on like the same database for storing the data from all the services, now the services or like the functional teams can pick up which database better suits. For example, if it's a time series or a metrics data, take a database like put them on InfluxDB kind of databases versus transactional or non-transactional MongoDB or like Postgres. So people started using the databases that better suited their applications. Now, extending this a bit further, even though like the applications were getting split and then the databases were multiple databases that better suited the application were being picked up, the data was still being written onto these external storage servers that were still really monolithic. And this is where, like, coming from software defined storage background, we felt applications are changing, their needs from the underlying storage are also changing. So we have scope for improving that. That's how the OpenEBS project started. Um, in fact, a couple of other trends that I don't talk about here are the hardware evolution, where the number of CPUs and the number of RAM available on each of the node exponentially was increasing. In fact, even the Linux kernel had to change some of the scheduling algorithms, and like, how do you do high performance computing using you know asynchronous IO was good enough for like up to 4 to 8 CPUs that were available on a node, but when it comes to 96 CPUs or like higher RAM, that was not sufficient. So IO ring, where you pin a particular CPU for performing the transactions, was kind of becoming like a trend to do, and this was changing the way the internet, the infrastructure that powers the internet was being developed. For example, like the routers and all were changing to this new technology. In fact, like new languages came in, like Go, Rust, for helping the developers much code things much faster and adhere to the um, strict abstractions. So with all this, I think we felt that even storage needs to be rewritten. That's where we came up with OpenEBS, and OpenEBS from the get-go is a microservices-based platform where, just like how applications can write into their own database, each database can write the data into their own storage server, and that storage server internal then they need not be outside of the nodes. In fact, like if you can actually run this with just 3 nodes, um, if you are able to run a Kubernetes cluster on 3 nodes, there is a lot of storage available on those nodes that can be used for stateful applications as well. And OpenEBS makes sure that the high availability is retained. If one node fails, the data is already available on the other nodes for the stateful workloads to come up. Uh, with that, I will now as it is in a microservices way, there are around like 25 repositories to which you can contribute under the OpenEBS organization. This OpenEBS is an umbrella organization that just outlines what are the general contribution guidelines. And then you can switch into like your favorite language. It could be like C, C++, Python, Go, Rust, JavaScript, or anything, or it could be based on your interest. Maybe you want to update the user or a contributor docs, or maybe you want to add more tests, or you want to work on release or like build manifests, or generally about like learning about the technology. You can pick up any one of these, and then there are like a lot of issues that need help from the community to get fixed. So we can help you to work on that. And one thing that I also mentioned towards the end, you know uh, it's of high importance. Open source projects are growing in number, and a lot of project maintainers need help with maintaining the project itself. For example, like triaging the bugs is like a big thing. There will be an inflow of 30 to 40 issues or PRs that are coming in. How do we make sure like all of those things are getting attention is in itself a huge task. So if you are interested in helping open source projects, and you are looking for a management stream, trying to do contribute via the open source project management is also a great way to uh, jumpstart your career in management, right? Um, so the issues can be picked up, that are labeled as Hacktoberfest, or it could be like a good first issue, or in fact, like pick up any issue that is available out there. Once you are interested in it, you just claim that issue, saying that you want to work on it. If the issue does not have a Hacktoberfest label, we will put one. And in fact, like if you find a problem and there is no issue for that, you can go ahead and create an issue, and we will also help put a Hacktoberfest tag to it. And once you start contributing or fixing that particular issue, we will help you in terms of reviewing the pull request. And at the same time, if you need additional help, feel free to join the Kubernetes Slack. We have a channel for both OpenEBS and Litmus there, called OpenEBS Dev and Litmus Dev. A lot of the maintainers and other contributors are hanging out there, who would love to help you make your first contribution. Um, I understand that some of you may be coming to the GitHub for the first time. We'll take a quick poll on the chat, and then see if that is really the case. And we can also have like some beginner session on how to contribute to GitHub, or how to navigate your way through the GitHub in a bit. All right. So Hacktoberfest is all about celebration. It's all about learning, but it's also about like cool T-shirts that are given away by the DigitalOcean, which started the Hacktoberfest program in itself, as well as the partnering companies like MayaData that also send separate swags than the Hacktoberfest swag, along with picking up the significant contributions and giving them prizes. Right. This picture is from the last year Hacktoberfest, where one of the contributor was getting a weekly prize for the contribution. Uh, that was, I think, the last slide that I had. Of course, like we are right now on the Open Source Cafe meetup, but there are also other meetups that you can join. I've listed here the OpenEBS or the CNCF related meetups, but we also have a Litmus meetup that you can join too. If you do have any questions that you want to directly ask me, I'm available on the Slack under Kiran Mova, and also on Twitter. That I'll stop sharing my screen, take some questions.
Prithvi, do you want to take it over from here, or it would be Sayan?
Nishanta, probably Sayan can talk about contributing to open source for a bit, and then we can talk about
Okay,
Litmus.
okay, okay, sure. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Shan. I majorly work in Litmus portal, which is a part of Litmus Chaos project, which Prithvi will be talking about in a bit. But before that, I'd like to talk about how anyone rather can contribute to open source, and I'm going to keep it a little general and both expert as well as beginner friendly. I don't want to go totally too much beginner, but I would like to show quite a lot of things about which repositories you can contribute, which beginner friendly repositories, and how you can contribute as well. So let me probably share my screen. Uh, how can I move this thing around? Okay, cool. Can I probably shift it? It's a bit annoying at the header, basically.
I think you can try to shift it or push it down.
Yeah, like a drag is not working. Yeah, that works. Okay. Hey guys, so what I'm gonna do is basically go to GitHub and show you one very good thing about GitHub is basically Hacktober has this labels, right? So Hacktober has a Hacktoberfest label and a good first issue label. And what we have also done in Litmus is we have added an easy, medium, difficult, these three labels, which can classify what difficulty level a certain issue is. So if you take a look at litmus/issues, you'll find a lot of this classification going on based on the difficulty level of a certain issue. And one thing that is great about GitHub is there's a search button, a search bar right at the top left, where you can basically search for good first issues. If you do a good first issues search over here, you get tons of resources based on repository code, commits, issues. So if you switch to issues, there are 1 million issues currently which have this good first issue label. So that way you don't have to generally stick to a certain repository. You can just basically search for good first issue, and any repository that has these label, you can go ahead and click on them, and that will take you directly to that repository. So for example, in this one, the circle ones are the issues, this one are the pull request, the different arrow signs. So if the circle one, let's say for this one, this is a test repo. So this is Abhilash who has just created this issue test repo, and if I go here, you'd see that this is just a basic issue, where if you go to the code, you'd see the code for this particular test repo. So this is empty. Okay, so this is empty. But yeah, that's how you can basically navigate and go to any particular issue and any particular good first issue label. So for example, this one is another Hacktoberfest issue, and this is also a good first issue. So you can easily take it up. So that way you don't have to stick and scope yourself up to a certain repository. But yeah, this is a good way to get started. Another great thing that I like about Hacktober is you have this awesome repositories that help you find the beginner friendly repositories as well as code bases. So if you go to this one in particular, which is Awesome Hacktoberfest. So there are three that I like quite a lot, which is Awesome Hacktoberfest. Another one is Up for Grabs, and the third one is Awesome for Beginners. So let me talk about this one first. So Awesome Hacktoberfest is generally a repository which gives you details. It was previous year as well. They haven't updated it, so this could go in another Hacktoberfest PR maybe. But yeah, one thing that they like doing is they give you all these different search engines to find the different Hacktoberfest issues. Like you have a for grabs issue finder here, then they'll tell you the labels that are famous for this time period. Good first issue is actually there for quite a long time. It's not just for Hacktoberfest. Good first issue is there anytime you go on GitHub and search for good first issue, you'll get it. But Hacktoberfest, especially, you'll get this Hacktoberfest and first timers only label. These are quite famous and they keep growing quite often in Hacktoberfest. But good first issue is something which persists throughout the year on GitHub. And nextly, you'll find the project friendly Hacktoberfest first time contributors, and here you'll get uh, repos based on the projects, like based on the tech stack. So you can, if you have CSS changes that you want to make, if you're good at HTML CSS, then you can obviously go to all the CSS projects. You can probably open this up and you'll get a list of the different repositories that are CSS based. And similarly, you can see the pagination. That's quite a lot of lists there. So you can click on any one of them, you can just take a look at the issue and you can start contributing in that sense. Or they have certain they have like pinned certain repositories that are good in terms of first time contributors, which are these two, Shopee Design and Crystal. And then you have Dart or Flutter, you have HTML, JavaScript, Java, PHP. So based on the tech stack, they have pinpointed a certain repositories, certain projects, which would be quite easy for beginners to start contributing to. And also you can see companies that are participating in Hacktoberfest, which are listed in this particular repository. There are other companies as well. So these companies are also taking part in Hacktober. And if you go to any of, let's say you go to Gatsby, So if you go to Gatsby and you go to the issues, they have 15 issues currently open, and yeah, you see there's help wanted and there's swag ideas and there's all types of label available. So you can go and search for good first issue label if they have one. Yeah, they have a good first issue, and okay, they are not open for good first issues. So let's see for Hacktober, they haven't Hacktober. They have a help wanted though, which can easily go to Hacktober. Yeah. Okay, so that's how they basically classify the issues and the Hacktoberfest contribution. There's another one which is this contrib. So I found it on here as well. So they have a, this is gauger.io/contrib, and here basically what you can do is you can filter according to the tech stack. So like I like TypeScript quite a lot. So if I filter based on TypeScript, on the right side you'll see all the repositories that have TypeScript as a base code base. So the code base is built on TypeScript, and these are the repositories. These are pretty famous. Like they have Grafana, they have Microsoft, and they have Angular. So if you want to contribute on in that sense, like you can see even the number of labels that are present. So they have 4+ good first issues and they have 100+ help wanted. Similarly for these as well. So you can just basically go to any of them and take a look at the good first issues there and see if you can fit in any of those requirements. Right, so apart from that, there's this one. There's a first contributions.github.io, which I found really helpful. Now what it does is if you click on get started, they'll give you a proper guide, like a one-to-one guide. So like they have a step 0, step 1, step 2 on what you should do in order to start contributing. If this is your first time contributing, you can easily go to that website, firstcontributions.github.io, and they tell you what are the steps necessary. So you need to first fork the repository which you're contributing to, then you need to clone it, and then you can create a feature branch, or either like you can send it directly from master, but it's always better to create a feature branch when you're sending any PR. Then you'd make the necessary changes and commit those changes, and then you'd push it back to GitHub, and then you'd send a PR directly to the repository you forked it from, which is the main repository in this case. So this is a great way, like it's a great way, it's sort of like a very beginner friendly way to help you understand how you should start contributing. And also they have this list of projects as well which are up for Hacktoberfest, and they also have this good first issue and Hacktoberfest label. So yeah, that's that. And also there's awesome for beginners, which is a great resource which I like. This is also a repository, and they have this table of content. So the table of content, what it does is basically they also uh, filter it based on the tech stack you are using. So if I go to TypeScript again, you'll see these are the projects that are there, and Litmus is also there. So Litmus, Game of Life, or these are TS-lint, ES-lint rules. So TS-lint is another linting project that we use as well on Litmus. So if you want to contribute, you can go to this, and they have the label of nice first contribution. So it's not always good first issue. They will also tell you which label it is that you need to go and find for Hacktoberfest. So for TS-lint in this case, it's nice first contribution. Yeah, basically a beautiful way to narrow down your search rather than looking blindly. But if you are not happy with, like, if you find these pretty difficult or like not up to the mark, or like you're not happy with the projects, then you can obviously go for the first approach, which is go to the left side and search for your good first issue and figure out the repository that fits your requirements. And apart from that, I'd like to say one last thing, that is the up for grabs, which is an awesome way to search for beginner friendly repositories. And the up for grabs, I'm pretty sure you might have heard of it as well, but up for grabs basically give you this 3 option that you can filter by name, by label, by tags. So let's say by name, if I do OpenEBS, maybe there you go. So if you do OpenEBS, you get OpenEBS, and OpenEBS has good first issue, 15 good first issues, which you can go look. But if you close this, you'd get a list of the entirety of of the repositories that are currently present. So it's quite hard to filter this, but then again, you have the label, so you can get a good first issue label, and that way you'd filter it. So right now this thumbs up good first issue is in there, and also you have the popular tag, so you can filter it by JavaScript or TypeScript or anything. Like if I go and filter it by JavaScript, so you'll get all the JavaScript good first issues. So that way you are currently staying loyal to your tech stack, as well as you're also looking for different repositories which you can contribute to. And these are all beginner friendly repositories if they have a good first issue. So yeah, basically that's it. I guess Prithvi will be talking more about Litmus and how you can contribute to Litmus. But I'd like to show one more thing is, let's say if you are trying to contribute to Litmus, or let's give this example for any other project. So let's say this is the project APC you're trying to contribute to. What you need to do first is you need to fork this repository, which is at the top right corner. Once you fork it, you'd have it in your personal space. So let me go back to my Litmus. It's probably not helping this way. Okay. Okay, so it's not showing up for some reason. All right, so once you fork this, there it is. Once you fork it, you'll have something like this. So you have your username / litmus, and it's forked from the main repository. Now here is when you need to clone it, and once you clone it, you can make the necessary changes and probably create a feature branch. So whatever changes you are doing, let's say you created a new README file, so you can create a feature branch and call it something README, like updated README or updating README, and then you can make the changes there. Once you do the changes and you push the changes, they'll automatically be populated on GitHub, and you can see there'll be an yellow bar which shows that you are one commit ahead of the main branch. And then you can probably open a PR, open a pull request, and what you have to do is you need to compare it with your feature branch and send it to the master branch of the base repository. And then once you send a PR, and that's how basically, and you got your first PR basically. So after that, the maintainers will come and review, and they'll give certain comments or not based on the PR you have sent. Yeah, that's how you basically get started with sending any PR. It's that easy. Yeah, that's about it for me. Uh,
Thanks, Sayan. Thank you. Prithvi, would you like to take it over from here?
hey, Prithvi, can
Sure,
you
Nishant.
take the screen sharing away? It's stuck a bit.
Probably like you have to stop sharing science so that I can take it up.
Yeah, just a minute. It's probably stuck. Okay. Oh God. I have put a taskbar on Unix and now I can't click it. Okay, no issues. I have a solution. I'll just restart my system.
Prithvi, can you try sharing your screen? Let's see, because I have enabled, multiple screen sharing for panelists.
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So hi everyone. As Sayan talked about sharing everything to open source and how you can contribute, I'll be talking about the sister project for OpenEBS as Kiran talked about. Litmus. So Litmus, as you know, is part of the CNCF, just got into CNCF sandbox a couple of months ago. And Litmus is a project which is used to induce chaos engineering, as you all know. And if you might not know what chaos is, we look forward to what chaos is. So let's just start. So, as we mentioned, it's the second year for Litmus, and we have been loving Hacktoberfest in 2017, fourth for OpenEBS, and this is the second time. We are looking forward to a lot of contributions for Litmus, although we got a considerable amount of them last year. But we are hoping to set up the bar, obviously, as Kiran mentioned, that we look to raise the bar every year, and there are a lot of issues to contribute to. So about us, I'll just talk about myself. I am Prithvi Raj, the community manager for Litmus Chaos, part of MayaData as well. And I'm also a CNCF meetup organizer. We organize Kubernetes Chaos Engineering meetups every third Saturday of the month. So probably I would like to post the link after I finish up. And one of our maintainers, who's also the co-founder and CEO of MayaData, Uma Mukara. He's not present here, but he has been contributing to open source since 2016, and hope you get to meet him soon. So how to contribute to Litmus? So there's this githubissues.com. Probably I'll just share the link here for you all. 1 second. Yeah, so you can just check out this link, and this is where all the issues are present, and with the Hacktoberfest label, of course. And there are a lot of areas to contribute to, from Kubernetes to chaos engineering, React.js, GraphQL, Golang, TypeScript, or if you have contributed to any cloud native applications, say Prometheus, Kubernetes, Grafana, with tests. There are a lot of applications. So if you have contributed to them, then obviously there are a lot of experiments, chaos experiments to contribute to on hub.litmuschaos.io. That's the chaos hub. And if you want to apply like Litmus, or if you want to start using Litmus, then Octeto is the place to deploy Litmus. You just have to check out Octeto, like Litmus on Octeto, and there's where you can start off deploying Litmus and test Kubernetes resiliency. Now, if you need any help, I posted the link for the Slack. Hashtag litmus.dev is the channel for all the Litmus developers. You can also join the Litmus channel on the Kubernetes Slack to discuss anything you want to, or query anything you have doubts about. So obviously, Kiran mentioned about MayaData. We are ranked fifth in the number of PRs that we have sent to CNCF, and I won't waste time here. As you know, our mission statement is to provide cloud native data management and cloud native resiliency for Kubernetes systems. So talking about Litmus, as you know, is meant to help Kubernetes SREs and developers in chalking out weaknesses in your deployments, and also lead to Kubernetes resiliency by inducing a fault. We have got a lot of contributors, the major contributor being MayaData, and the other contributors being Intuit, Amazon, RingCentral, Container Solutions, Octeto, and many more. These are the social links available for you. Probably you can check them out so that you can get connected with us. And what is chaos exactly, and why do we need chaos engineering? See, chaos engineering is basically inducing a fault deliberately into a system to check the resiliency of the system. Is this system resilient or not? For example, you can talk about a lot of things that happen around the world. Let's say I just saw that recently I saw a couple of ads, and there are like upcoming sales, Amazon Great Indian Festival or Big Billion Day sales. And during that sort of a time, we see a huge user spike. We see a lot of users coming up to shop or just check out the website, which can lead to downtime, which can lead to an outage where, the user is not able to access it. Why? Because there's a spike in the number of users. So there's a change, and that is what chaos engineering helps in. Before the system goes into production, before the sale starts, why not test how will it react to the increase or the spike in the number of users, to the change in the system. So that is what chaos does. You induce a fault, and let's say for the Kubernetes space, it's killing a pod or deleting a pod, or a container kills for example. And that is how chaos helps. It helps to understand how will the system behave when that sort of condition arises. And moving on to why do we need chaos? Of course, there are a lot of layers that we have. As you see, it's not just your application, but the resiliency depends on the other layers as well. Let's say the MongoDB, Kafka, Cassandra, the layers for the database, and then the cloud native services that you use, Core DNS, Envoy, Prometheus. And similarly, as you know, it's the world of Kubernetes, and we all are shifting to the microservices architecture. So there are a lot of Kubernetes services as well that you're using. So resiliency dependency moves it's not just dependent on your application, but moves from your application to tail the platform services, that is the infrastructure layer. And 90%, like greater than 90% of the resiliency depends on other cloud native components, as I mentioned. So talking about Litmus is a complete framework to find weaknesses in Kubernetes platforms and applications running on Kubernetes. It helps you induce chaos, and that is how you check the resiliency score. As you know, we do it the cloud native way, and the cloud native way of doing it is obviously the first and major point here is it's open source, so you all can contribute to it. And it uses like developers and SREs automate chaos in a cloud native way. So what's the cloud native way of doing it? The chaos is declarative in nature. That is, you get chaos CRDs to manage chaos, and the chaos APIs, orchestration, scheduling, and complex workflow management can be done declaratively. Also, you get chaos ready experiments that are available on the chaos hub. That's the central place, or the central, you can say, the hub where all the chaos experiments from generic, that is, for example, I gave pod, kill, pod, delete, to the complex one, which are based on Kafka or Core DNS, as well as OpenEBS. We have got like experiments for OpenEBS as well, which can be deployed on, various systems, and you can use various chaos experiments to induce chaos in your system. The other features that I would like to talk about is that you can create your own chaos experiment as well. As you know, Chaos SDK is available in Go, Python, and Ansible. That's just basically used to create quickly an experiment required to induce chaos. And you just need to add your logic, and you can be ready with the experiment. Lastly, talking about the chaos portal, which is in development, and all the issues that can be contributed to by you all. And the chaos portal is actually like having a lot of issues, from good first issues to front end and back end issues. And you can just check the chaos portal out, which will help monitor as well as observe chaos. So what's the contribution process? As I sent in the link for the GitHub issues, the issues which are available for Litmus, you just have to claim the issue labeled with the Hacktoberfest label, as well as the label which goes by your need. It can be a good first issue, or a front end issue, back end issue, or it can also be a complex issue, as we look forward to develop the portal as well as get in experiments. So you can just comment on the issue, and we'll just assign the issue to you. And you can raise a PR as soon as you're ready. And if any changes are necessary, we'll suggest you, our team will help you out. And that's how you get in your PR there. And as I mentioned, you can join in the Slack channel to ask anyone. The whole community is there, 350 plus members who are there to help you out with any issues or queries you have. So that's it from my side. I would like to thank you all, and probably you can just post in your questions on chat, and then we can end the webinar. So are there any questions? Probably no. So Nishanta, you can take it up, and then we can just end this webinar.
Thanks, Prithvi. Thanks for your presentation. Do we have any questions so far?
Yeah, so I got in a question from Lavish. It's asking for a Kubernetes domain email. You don't have to use a Kubernetes domain email. You just have to join the Kubernetes Slack using slack.kts.io, where you just provide your own email address. And that is like if you are facing any issues, I'm just posting the link again here.
Maybe I think Prithvi, you can screen share it and register once again, so that I think everyone in the chat who is the participants here can go ahead and register right now and join the Litmus Chaos channel and the OpenEBS channel.
Yeah, sure, Nishanta. So I'll just share how you have to do it. Yeah, so you can see this is the link you use, and you just enter any of your email ID. Let's say I am not a robot, and you, 1 second, probably I have used this email. I have used this email, so probably I might get that I already have the invite, but let me try it out. Yeah, so I had already like used this email, so it directly took me to Slack. But you just get an invite and you join the Slack. So if you once you join the Slack, you just have to like add a channel, and you search the Litmus channel here. And as you can see, the Litmus channel is here, and I have already joined it. And similarly, the Litmus dev channel is for the developers. And similarly, you just search the OpenEBS channel, and you can see that you get the OpenEBS channel as well. And you just click that channel, and you'll get a join button there, and you just join in. So that's how you join both the Litmus as well as OpenEBS channels. Or probably after like you join the Kubernetes Slack, you just have to use this link, which I posted. I guess I'll post that once again. And this is how you join both the Slacks. So on these Slacks, you'll get help. As you can see, the community members are there. So you can just chat with them and, understand how you can contribute. It will help you contributing.
Thanks, Prithvi. Thank you. And I think we have another question. Does chaos engineering supported by OpenEBS? Is it something for Kiran to answer, or Prithvi, you will be going ahead and...
The answer is yes. So in fact, like Litmus started with chaos engineering for OpenEBS, and if you look at the uh, Litmus hub, you see a lot of experiments that are running for OpenEBS, and you can also see them live at openebs.ci.
Thanks, Kiran. Thank you. Any more questions so far? Maybe we will wait for next 5 minutes related to Hacktoberfest. Any questions, you can just put it in the chat window.
Yeah, maybe worth a quick note. Is Piyush still
Can
there?
one question?
Go ahead, Pratik.
Can one question was there from Avinash about some let me get the question, some extra incentive for that contribution, open source contribution as part of MayaData. So we have some of them. Like, can you just explain?
Yes.
So Avinash's question was, I was wondering if there is any kind of monetary incentives for open source contribution at MayaData. Yes.
Thanks for asking that, Avinash. So open source works with community support, and it's also for companies like MyData that depend on open source to give back. Uh, there is certain obligation to not give direct money to any individuals. It kind of gets into a few legal complications there, but we have like couple of ways in which that is addressed. One is it's via the swag or like prizes. The prizes go all the way up to uh, giving a laptop for the best contribution received in the month of October. Um, and I've also seen the other benefit is folks that are really interested in contributing to OpenEBS or Litmus, and they make significant contributions, they can become employees at MayaData if they are looking for it. And in fact, like most of almost in all the Hacktoberfest events that we have conducted, there is one or two employees, one or two contributors that have become like employees via that process. In fact, that does not end with just Hacktoberfest. At any point of time, people who come in and contribute to these open source projects have that's one way to become employees of this project. Many of our employees started their journey by contributing to these projects and now are employees in MayaData.
Yeah, just to add what Kiran said, there is a program in Cncf called Community Bridge. So even and GSOC is also there, right? So Community Bridge also kind of paid contributors to the contributing to the open source projects and all. So that is also the one of the points.
Yep, I think we don't have any questions anymore. Yes, so I request everyone to join the Slack channel, the Kubernetes Slack channel, the OpenEBS and the Litmus, so that we can take things forward from there, and any Hacktoberfest related help, or how to get started on your first contribution. So yes, there are contributors to help you out. Whatever you need any help related to contributing your first PR or anything, any Hacktoberfest discussions. So I would again request you to join those uh, OpenEBS channel and Litmus channel on Kubernetes Lab. Uh, I don't see any questions anymore. Maybe we can wrap it up right now. Thanks, Kiran. Thanks, Prithvi. Thanks, and Pratik, for your time. And thanks everyone for joining. And we hope that get started with your first contribution in Hacktober as possible. Uh, Anything else? Anyone want to say? Maybe
Yeah,
from
thanks everyone. And let's we'll hang out here for another 5 minutes.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
if anybody still has some questions, we can
Sure,
take
sure.
them
And
back.
I think
12:15 we'll wind
any
this
one
up, and
of
then
the
we
from the
will.
attendees directly want to talk, also can raise your hand. I'll just allow them to talk with the Kiran or Prithvi, whoever they want. So just in case they want to talk right now directly, they can just raise your hand. There's an option called raise hand. I see Avinash has one more question. Yes, Avinash, can you post your question on chat, or uh, do you want me to give you access to talk directly to the uh, panelists? Okay, the question from Avinash is, I'm quite comfortable with Golang, but not work with Kubernetes. Maybe Avinash is asking, how to get started with Kubernetes. Uh, Kiran, Prithvi, some insights.
Well, Avinash, according to me, I don't think that
The
you
code.
have. Yeah, Kiran, go ahead, Kiran, go ahead.
Sorry. So we do have a lot of repositories with simple repositories where you really don't need to install Kubernetes as well. But the other side is you just have it on your machine, like in your laptop. Now Kubernetes has made it really simple to get started by installing kind or Minikube. It probably like just takes like 4 hours to get an understanding of Kubernetes. And my recommendations and generally like how the industry is moving forward, Kubernetes is like another Linux, and it's better. It's going to be beneficial for everybody to learn what Kubernetes is and what are the Kubernetes concepts. because a lot of things are going to get deployed on Kubernetes, or like, you have to deal with Kubernetes once you get into the industry. Uh, we can also do some starter sessions on Kubernetes. Uh, if people can post on the open source cafe meetup, what are the topics that you want to learn, we can kind of take them up in the next sessions as well. Yeah, to get started with the initial contributions, you don't need, in fact, like almost all the repositories have a CI setup. Uh, Whatever contribution you make, let's say like you're just making a contribution to fix a Go lint error, you don't need to have Kubernetes. Once you raise a PR, the CI system will automatically install Kubernetes and test your code along with building. You don't need Kubernetes to get started, but it'll be good if you learn about Kubernetes as well.
Yes, and also just to add more, you can there is a different 6-channel Kubernetes as well, so you can join those channel, and if in case of you want to understand anything or any concept, there is a developers and others open source contributor is definitely going to help you. So feel free to ask any questions on those channels as well, and you can ask a similar question in OpenEBS channels as well, and then we'll guide you to respective documentation or anything else what we can do from our side.
Yep. Any more questions? Maybe we can take a few more questions, one or two questions, just in case if anyone want to ask. Okay, I don't think we
Will
have.
be a general announcement. There has been a update to the Hacktoberfest process to receive, for example, like the cool T-shirts, the limited edition T-shirts and stickers. The PRs have to be of good quality. I think over the years, starting from like 1,000 to 2,000 PRs, right now it's the PRs that get generated in the month of October are around 5 lakh to more than that. So many of the PRs tend to be around like a spam PR or a copy paste PR, or sometimes um, it is something that maintainers do not want to take. So the process has changed to make that more streamlined. Should feel that you are solution. Again, like for example, like MyData has its own process. So MyData also looks at like significant contributions to provide the prices. And whereas like for the you know the t-shirts or the Hacktoberfest swag, it will look at some quality. It should be something beyond like putting a comma in a text and raising a PR. Just look for a little bit more quality content when you're raising your PRs. Uh, it's also the impression that we put out on the global market of the kind of PRs that India generates should be really high. So you also want to make sure that
Thanks, Ken. Thanks for the information. Uh, I think we can wrap it now, just in case I don't see any questions. Yes, thanks everyone for joining, and looking forward to seeing your awesome contributions to OpenEBS and Litmus in this Hacktoberfest. Yes, please do join the OpenEBS channel and the Litmus channel on Kubernetes Lab. Thank you. Thanks all.